Welcome to the BCFC Coaches Show for Week 7. All 3 games this weekend will fall on Saturday night, as the Rebels, Huskers, and Broncos will try and hold court. After another convincing win last week, the Vancouver Island Raiders remain undefeated and in first place with a 6-0 record. The Raiders will leave the island and travel to Kamloops for a date with the Broncos. The Raiders' D is coming off a game in which they didn't allow a completed pass all game, but they did give up 200-plus yards on the ground. Is head coach Matt Blocker pleased with what he saw?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's not so much about one or the other. It's having balance. We didn't have any balance at all against the run, and you can't do that. And we got embarrassed, and, as simple as that. The Rebels embarrassed us in the run game. So you're sure right, we addressed it, and I can tell you right now, it was one of our better weeks as far as working against the run.
Is that what you concentrated then in practice, was just stopping the run?
Absolutely. I mean, that's where it starts, right? And,
yeah.
We've been in, pretty proud defense for quite a few years against the run, and plain and simple, all I can tell you is the Rebels embarrassed us, and, we got to do something about that, or we're not going to go very far.
Talk about Andrew Oak. He was named the CJFL Defensive Player of the Week. What did you see from him?
Well, we got an opportunity to see him healthy finally, which is great, and we got to see him play with some passion. And he's a pretty passionate guy, and he brought it. He brought on special teams and decided to step up and be a leader. And we need that out of Oakster every game. I'm just looking forward to watching him grow for the rest of the year and contributing on defense.
This weekend, you've got the Kamloops Broncos. Are you preparing for your opposition each and every week, or more concentrating on mistakes that you may be making?
We do a little bit of both, obviously. And, right now, I still don't think we're a very good football team, and we got to continue to work on our own game and what we're doing. And we're still making too many mistakes, and we're still not as disciplined as what we need to be. So, from that standpoint, there's a lot of focus on us, and we're in a pretty, good position, being 6-0. That I think with 6 wins, it might already get us in the playoffs. So right now, we do got to focus on ourselves and get a lot better, and we're looking forward to these next 2 games down the stretch, versus Kamloops, and then of course versus Chilliwack to focus on that.
The Broncos fell to 1-5 on the year after a tough loss in Langley this past weekend. It was the deadly combination of not being able to stop Nick Downey, as well as the inability to move the ball. Head coach Duncan Othius explains.
It's just their defense they're aggressive, and they're big and fast, and they're mobile. They get after that ball. I know Jeff has got very elaborate schemes that we just couldn't handle, and we just weren't ready for it.
Did you make some corrections going into this week, or were you able to?
We did, yes. I believe we do. I know Nanaimo has the same type of defense. They're not as aggressive as with blitzing, but they just, they're athletes all around. It's a pretty simple defense, but they do it very, very well.
Mm-hmm. You used 3 quarterbacks against Langley. How come?
Later on in the game, we decided to get some of the younger guys in and to get them some experience. Like Skylar Allen hasn't been dressed for one of our games yet. He's a local Kamloops kid, but we just wanted to get him in there because the game was out of reach, but we just want to get them some experience.
You mentioned the Raiders this week. You host them at Hillside Stadium. What is your main focus trying to slow them down?
We just gotta. It's going to be a tough one, but they have so many weapons. It's going to be very tough. We just got to play on defense. We got to play just perfect, basically, to slow these guys down.
The second-place Okanagan Sun traveled to the island on Saturday night for a date with the West Shore Rebels. In Week 4, it was all Sun at the Apple Bowl, winning 49-7. The Sun saw a resurgence in their ground attack last week, and head coach Jason Casey liked what he saw.
Just the control of the game, both the tempo, the clock management, how much our defense was able to spend on the bench watching our offense control that. I just like the fact that we controlled the ball for so long.
Looking at your opponent this weekend, it's the West Shore Rebels. You traveled to Victoria this weekend. You beat them fairly handily at the Apple Bowl in Week 4. Do you expect more of the same?
No, I expect a much more difficult game. We're going to go into their home field, so they're going to be amped up. They've got everything to prove. They've got to make sure that they keep their playoff hopes alive. So I expect anything and everything from them from a system and play standpoint. And we all realize that it's going to be a very difficult task to go in there and beat them easily on their home field.
Their run game, and specifically tailback Greg Morris, who's just named the CJFL Offensive Player of the Week, he's been great since the game against the Okanagan Sun at the Apple Bowl. How do you stop him?
Well, it's just going to make sure all 12 guys know where he is, and they bust their humps to get to that ball carrier. Regardless of who's carrying the ball, we've got to have a swarming defense, and by no stretch of the imagination, we got to key on Morris. So our guys are going to be aware of where he is. they'll make their reads according to, the pre-snap read, and when the ball is snapped, and our guys just have to swarm. They've got to contain him. We can't go for kill shots. If we go for kill shots, they'll make us miss, and then, he'll turn a 4 or 5 yard gain into, a 30, 40, 50 yard gain. So we've got to make sure we stay disciplined, keep him within our sights, and just play a swarm defense so it makes him run east-west instead of north-south and churning all those yards and crossing goal lines.
The Rebels are coming off a game in which they didn't complete a pass, but they did have tremendous success on the ground, something head coach Don Cardelacchia is hoping to see more of in front of the Rebels faithful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's pretty exciting to get all those yards on the ground. Pretty frustrating not to be able to complete a pass, especially when they were there. When it's right in the receiver's hands, you expect to complete those easy ones.
What have you done this week to get the passing game back on track?
Well, simple. Just put pressure on the guys to perform better. I told them there's no starters this week. We've had some serious competition in practice this week, and I let them know, mess up in a game, you're coming out real quick, and we just don't have the patience or the time to have guys dropping balls that are right in their hands, and we need them to make plays on. So, a little bit of pressure and obviously more focus on finishing.
Well, I want to ask you about Greg Morris because he rushed for over 200 yards against the Raiders, one of the best defenses in the country. He's been outstanding the last 2 weeks. Specifically, what has changed since the early half of the season?
A few things. I mean, sometimes it takes a kid a little while to get adjusted to the speed of junior football coming out of high school, and knowing how to follow his blocks and hit it and when to kick it in and all that kind of stuff. So combination of just, Greg's a hard-working kid that, just comes every night and works harder than anybody else on the field. And with that much talent and that great of an attitude, things are going to turn, along with just getting to know the league a little bit. But, he's starting to hit it in the right spots, and then, just using his pure speed and athleticism to get in the open field, and he'll make some yards on his own.
Also Saturday night, the 3-3 Langley Rams on a 3-game winning streak will head to Chilliwack for a battle with the Huskers. The Rams were once again led by Nick Downey last week, who scored 3 touchdowns within 2 minutes. Which begs the question, Jeff Alamahota, what did he have for breakfast?
That's something that you'll have to ask him. He's something special, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is. And without his game and all the highlights that he had that game, your defense was outstanding against Kamloops. 7 sacks. How were they able to have such success?
Well, I think we changed up a few things in that bye week, and we gave them different looks, and we came at different areas on the field, and so I think we kind of gave them a little bit of a confusion there, and our guys played real hard. They were focused on what that goal was, so I think that it was a combination of those 2 factors.
A guy that's been really solid for you is your quarterback, Brandon Lay. What have you seen from him?
I've seen a lot of poise from him. He's a young man that's gotten a step into that role. He earned his job, and he's pretty much taken it and ran with it. I think that he's a young man that's very poised. He's got a great arm, and he's starting to get the reads down, and he's starting to get the speed of junior ball.
This coming weekend, you head to Chilliwack for a date with the Huskers. You played them just before the bye. You beat them. Do you have to change anything as far as your prep goes because you did have success with them and it was only a couple weeks ago?
We always like to tweak things and adjust things within our system, obviously, to keep things fresh for our opponent every week. But, just like I say usually, we prepare as usual. We make sure that we do our diligence in the film room and on the field and that, but I think we will tweak our systems just a wee bit going into this game and trying to give them a different look and different formations and whatnot, because playing a team so close back to back like that, it's difficult, and you never know when an opportunity might arise to take advantage of that. So you always want to tweak and change things just a little bit to keep things fresh.
The Huskers are coming off their 6th straight loss and have been plagued by injuries all year. They will face the same Rams team who beat them just 3 weeks ago, and head coach Luke Atchison tells us if that makes preparation easier or more difficult.
A little bit easier in terms of we have an idea of what they might do against us, particularly. Having said that, they're a pretty good team over there, so there's a lot to prepare for. There's a few guys that we really need to try to limit in terms of their production.
What do you want to see from your club this week?
You know what? We are just more fight. Continue to fight. We're still dealing with some pretty tough injuries to get over. You're never going to replace Cody Hillhouse, one of the best linebackers, if not the best, in the country. Mm-hmm. We'll be without him again this week, and there's kind of a few others like that. So it's going to be a tough go, I think. But our guys are going to fight, and they're looking forward to the game on the weekend.
Has it been deflating for some of your guys to see so talented guys like Hillhouse and Hendrickson, those guys, go down with injuries? Are guys still motivated and ready to play?
Hey, the thing about football is you have to battle adversity, and with that comes some character, and it reveals character as well. So our guys, although they don't just shrug that off, it's a big loss, and the guys know that. They're all great friends with Cody and Aiden, and they'd love to see them in the lineup and be able to go to war with those guys, but they know that the next man in's got to step up.
It's a Saturday night full of BCFC football as Week 7 kicks off in West Shore, Chilliwack, and in Kamloops. Follow the BCFC on Facebook. Enjoy Week 7. Until next time, I'm Ryan Waters.